Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Moisman. Dan, Aston Villa 3, Newcastle nil. Who'd have predicted this, mate? Certainly not us, right? We predicted it. But
Yeah, mate. Honestly, that's the first thing we need to. We owe the Villa some flowers, don't we? We owe them some respect because we've clearly in ourselves underestimated our chances in this game, and the probability that we would come out with all 3 points. We both say in the preview talking about Newcastle's staunch defence and the fact they only lost 2 games in the league before this against Manchester City and Liverpool. That it was going to be a really tough game. I was like, if we lose, it's not the end of the world. We've been on an amazing run. We can't lose sight of where we were just a few months ago. But no, that quickly got thrown out the window, didn't it, mate? I mean, 30 seconds in from when Ollie runs through our goal and hits the post, it was clear that this was not going to be an ordinary afternoon.
you're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. And Pope gets a slight touch to it, doesn't he? And if he doesn't make that, I genuinely thought that was going in, and that would have been a wonderful way to start. But you're right, we were so up for it in every sense and way, and I think we played initially way more direct than Newcastle probably expected us to be, and I think we caught them by surprise. But like it, this is what is this is we're reaping the benefits here of having an elite manager, because we all expected to set out a certain way, and we all expected Newcastle to be really aggressive in their press and sort of make sure that they're on that pivot every time they got the ball, especially when you see the team sheet and you see Leander then Donker. Your confidence and faith in the ability to go and get a win, with no disrespect at all intended to Leander, it isn't going to be as high as should be because Kamara being that team. But to a man, everybody was fantastic. Leander himself, arguably my man of the match today, mate. But that ability to sort of, it's just little nuance changes, right? Because we weren't just sort of hoofing it long and hoping for the best. It was calculated. We were really looking to stretch their defence, and we sort of picked pockets in behind Kieran Trippier and John McGinn on Dan Burn. Stroke of tactical genius, mate. They clearly expected us to play with wingers. Why else would you play Dan Burn there, right? Why would you stick a centre half in at left back? Long time listeners of podcast know I cannot stand this guy. He's absolutely washed. Pathetic excuse of a footballer, Dan Burn. Genuinely think we would have done a better job out there, mate. But that's not the point. Putting John McGinn on Dan Burn just to harass him and really get in under his skin. I mean, I don't know how he was even on the pitch, mate. He must have committed about 10 fouls in that game, all on John McGinn. And there's no way he should have. I think he eventually got a yellow, did he? I can't even remember. I'm so bloody high off what's happened, but it felt like the officiating in this game was really poor, and we did kind of benefit from that at times, but surprising is the word, and maybe we shouldn't be surprised because, as I say, elite manager, mate. But Newcastle were certainly surprised.
Oh, mate, absolutely, absolutely. We just came roaring out the traps, and I think that's been the biggest thing about Unai's reign. Really, is that I think in terms of the biggest changes that we've seen, the tempo that we go into games with, and we just exploded out the traps. And when you have Villa Park like that, and we were attacking the Holte end again, and you come flying out the traps like that, and the Holte end is drawing Villa towards the goal and almost sucking the ball into the net. We've shown so many times in Arena that it's so difficult to go and play like that. And yeah, I think I said when Ollie hit the post, just 30 seconds into the game or whatever it was, it's one where we went and hit the post. We then scored. JJ then hit the bar. So there's moments in this game where this could have easily. I mean, there you go. Those two chances, they hit the woodwork. If they hit the back of the net, it could so easily have been 5-0. And when you're talking about a team like Newcastle, who, as I said, they've been so good this season, and that defense has been such a solid factor. I thought there were elements to their game which I did find confusing. I thought, particularly from set pieces, we kept running these short set pieces that at first I just didn't think they were adjusting to. And then as the game went on and we continually did it, we'd have one of the players sort of stand on the edge of the box, as in not like by the D, as in closer to the cornerback, that stand on the edge of the box and receive it and sort of be able to clip it into the box. And we just did that time and time again, and they just allowed us to do it. And as I said, it went from like, oh, they've not picked up on this, to like, okay, they must be consciously deciding not to close us down. And there were so many things that sort of confused me, and I thought it was it was a very physical game, and I thought we stood up to it really well. And again, that's credit to Rooney, because, we've been saying for quite a long time that this Villa side had a bit of a soft underbelly, and they definitely don't. They definitely don't. And, that's shown in the amount of fouls. I mean, we committed 13, Newcastle committed 15, but only 2 yellow cards in the game. Interestingly, it was actually Fabian Schär that got booked for Newcastle, and then John Duran, who came off the bench and got booked in just after the 90th minute for us. So it was a very physical game. But I did feel like, for the most part, we rose above that. And some of the football we played at time, I think, coming through the thirds, playing out the sort of defensive third, starting counter-attacks, using the passing range of Douglas Luiz, Ashley Young's experience in that kind of those positions and making sure he was picking the right pass. I thought Alex Moreno, I mean, there's almost a podcast. There's my man of the match for what it is worth. I thought that's the best game I've ever seen him play in a Villa shirt. This game today alone vindicates the decision to play him over Luca Dean, and why we felt that was such a position to address, because Luca Dean's never put in a performance like that. And Alex Moreno, I mean, he was electric today. Gave us so much energy, so much creativity down that left-hand side, overlapping with JJ. And it just felt like every time we got into the attacking third, mate, we had an extra pass on. There was always an extra ball. And that's coaching. That's coaching right there. And it's, honestly, as you go through the layers of this win more and more, you just realise what an incredible job United's done.
Absolutely, man. Moreno is just, like, as you say, to constantly have that outlet is, you can't buy that. I was saying to everyone around me at the game, I was like, could you imagine like how much we would just be obliterating teams if we had Moreno and Grealish on the same flank? Could you imagine that link up, mate? How good Grealish made Matt Target look. It would just, it's right. It doesn't even bear thinking about. But obviously gets his assist, made a clearance, won 3 of his 4 ground duels. And as you say, he's just constantly there, mate. Only 65% pass accuracy, not the best, but he's always an option. Like, I think, to be fair, like Newcastle, they were probably getting more joy out of our left-hand side, because we obviously left that a bit exposed at times. There was times where Moreno probably had 2 or 3 players around him and he was sort of trying to pass himself out of difficult situations. But, such is the nature of playing, a team that presses in the way that Newcastle do. I got to say, mate, they were so quiet. They were absolutely silent. You would not have thought that this was a team that sat 3rd in the Premier League. And it's interesting, mate, because like the ramifications this game will have on the top of the table, and obviously the 3 o'clockers are sort of all coming to a draw as we speak now, mate, aren't they? Fulham beating Everton. Brighton have managed to get another one back on Chelsea. They're beating them 2-1. Brentford have lost to Wolves away. Bournemouth are beating Tottenham. There's still 10 minutes to go because that kickoff's delayed. This is like, I know I've been saying it for weeks, but guys, get your passports ready. It's happening. It's well within our hands now. And you look at the table, the as it stands table, Villa are only 6 points behind Newcastle in 3rd, who have a game in hand on us. Brighton are now a point behind us with that win, with 2 games in hand. So that's a difficult one. But Brentford, same points as us, 7 points behind us. Liverpool, they've also got 2 games in hand. We can maybe assume that they would be able to make up the deficit. And obviously, we have to play Liverpool. We have to play Brentford. We have to play Brighton. We have to play Fulham. We have to play Spurs. And we have to play Man United. And Spurs are only 3 points ahead of us, and United are only 6 points ahead of us. Like, what world are we in right now, mate? That we're the football we're playing, I'm genuinely so confident that we could go on and win all of our games now.
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. I think this was such a complete performance. It was amazing. I'm trying to think of better Villa performances that I've seen in my life. I mean, obviously there've been good ones this season. You look back to the win over Man United at home and games like that, the win at Spurs, but there was never as much riding on them as this. Like this was every game gets bigger and bigger, doesn't it? Is that Leicester was our biggest game of the season, and then Forest was suddenly the biggest game of the season because that was we went into that knowing we had to win. Then this game becomes, and like, honestly, I think it's just going to build and build and build every time. And so I think you have to look at this and say, I can't remember a better Villa performance for a long, long time, if ever. This was to rise to that stage and just cruise was pretty incredible. And, the numbers that are coming out of this game are just incredible. And like, I mean, most goals in the Premier League in 2023, Ollie Watkins, 11 in 2023. That's just absurd. He's also got the most goals and assists, so goal contributions combined in 2023 with 14. We've got the most clean sheets in the Premier League in 2023 with 8. We've got the most points won in the Premier League in 2023. So, forget Arsenal, forget Man City. Since Unai arrived, talk about the start of the calendar year, no side has picked up more points in the league than Villa with our 32. We are just flying right now. I mean, Erling Haaland has 11 goal contributions in 2023 in the Premier League. Ollie Watkins, as I said, has 14. Harry Kane has 11. Marcus Rashford and Bukayo Saka on 10. So he's 4 goals ahead of those boys. No team in Europe's top 5 leagues have picked up more points in their last 8 games than Villa, 22 out of possible 24. We won 5 Premier League games for the first time since 1998. It's just, honestly, they just go on and on and on. Even JJ, since the start of last season, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli have scored more Premier League goals for players aged 21 and under than Villa's Jacob Ramsey. We've reached 50 points in 31 games. We haven't done that since 09-10 when we finished 6th. Honestly, mate, it just goes on and on and on. And it's just gonna keep getting better, mate. It's just incredible. And like, it's one where all of a sudden, like, the expectations just shift completely. And as you say, it would be so much better if these games in hand weren't a thing. And like, you just want to look at this table and see it all for what it is, because you rightly say, like, we're closing out on Man United, but they do have those 2 games in hand. But I think the other thing to consider with teams like Man United is they're still going in the FA Cup. They've got a semi-final to come next weekend, as I talked about in the preview. They're still going in the Europa League as well. And, their result midweek shows that they've still got to very much have one eye on that competition, because as soon as they take the eye off it, they let a 2-goal lead slip at home. And we're just here. We're probably, one of the only clubs in and around this mix where we can solely focus on the Premier League, and momentum is building. It's only City that can match the amount of wins we've put together in our last 5 games. It is really coming at Millhouse. It's pretty incredible, mate.
I'm smiling cheek to cheek, man. I'm smiling cheek to cheek. I can't believe it. It's just like the atmosphere was so good. It's like everybody sort of knows there's this feeling, and it's almost like the 10-game run, isn't it, mate?
Yes,
that's the feeling amongst the fan base at the moment, and we're feeling pretty invincible. And people are still laughing at me when I'm saying, look, we're going to get Europe. Non-Villa supporting friends are going, yeah, right. We've got an elite manager, and what he's getting out of these players is just absolutely insane. And as you've just reeled off in all those statistics, mate, we are in... You can't even call it a purple patch. We're flying. It's incredible. And whether it's going to be Wednesday nights or Thursday nights, you guys can debate that in the comments. But it's just like, it's mad, and it's funny. It's quite funny actually. You guys know we love stats and analysis on this channel. You guys know that I'm a sucker for XG. I've chosen not to partake in that whole debate on Twitter this week, because I think people just heard the word lucky and went red. Like, people just sort of turned into balls. That video that John McKenzie did for Tifo was a very well articulated video, and you can disagree with it, and I do disagree with the words lucky, but I think that kind of stuff you have to put it down to you're playing the game of creating content on YouTube and on social media, right? So there has to be an outrageous title. You have to go looking beyond that, but also we've beaten our XG again today, so it does kind of go to show you, mate. You said at the top we could have had 5. The XG is like 1.93, so it's not a perfect metric. It is something that always has and always should be used with context. And whilst Villa certainly aren't lucky, you can't dismiss that we're just in a moment right now. And I just hope this moment continues forever.
Oh, mate, without a doubt, without a doubt. It's one where I think this result paints the rest of our season in a totally different light. It really does. I think those games where, we had, like you mentioned, penciled ourselves in for a draw there, maybe a loss there. I mean, look, it's unlikely considering the teams we have to play that we go and win every game until the end of the season, but we don't need to. We don't need to, because all we need to do is remain as consistent as we can. This is the reason why we're in this position, and we need to capitalize on this, because it's a really strange Premier League season where, United have been faltering a little bit recently. I mean, how Spurs are actually sat in 5th really confuses me.
Yeah,
like
they're drawing now. It's 2-2 now.
Have they just equalised?
They've just equalised, and there's 2 minutes of regular time left. Sorry to cut in there, but yeah, no, right. It's crazy. How are they 5th? They've lost so many games.
They've lost every time I watch them, they seem to disappoint or lose at home. Considering all the problems with Conte and everything like that, I'm convinced someone snuck an extra 10 points in them for that so far this season. Because honestly, it feels like they've been sort of having a kind of Liverpool-esque season who are down in 8. But the point I'm trying to make is that we'll never have an opportunity like this again, whereby there are a top 2 in the Premier League, honestly, Arsenal and Manchester City, and then after that, with Newcastle, how they played today, it's a bit of a free-for-all. You then go down Newcastle, United, Spurs, Villa, Brighton, Liverpool, Brentford, Fulham, Chelsea, all the way down to 11th. And it's just anyone's guess after the top 2, really. Like Newcastle, after this, like that kind of performance of showing that, another team, they're 11 on points and Man United have got a game in hand. So they could be pipped to 3rd, and it's like, it's so volatile, and it's never really been like this. The top 6 has been a closed club, very exclusive, very tough to get into. And you imagine that it will get back to that. You have to look at, what's expected next season. It probably won't be like this. Chelsea will probably have a proper manager that will recover them, and Liverpool will hopefully, and their fans, they'll turn things around again. But we have to make the most of this opportunity, because we might not have this chance again for some time. And as to loop back around to what I was talking about, mate, is that this result paints those fixtures in a new light, and suddenly I think other teams are going to be more scared of us going into those games against Liverpool, against Man United, than we should be of them.
Absolutely, man. It's spot on. And I think an underrated aspect to this side is the pragmatism and how tough we are, like how physical we've become. Ash on Gordon today, man. If Ash is coming up against the young winger, Ash is going to school him, and they're going to become a better player for it, right? Because Anthony Gordon, the little rat, Princess Diana himself, at 21 years of age, he should be running rings around Ashley Young at 37, nearly 38, but he didn't. And Ash is just brilliant. And there was that wonderful challenge that he made on Trippier, I want to say. Or it may have been Dan Burn, I can't remember. He just went absolutely flying through him. And when Wilson came on and was sort of giving Ezri the shoves and that, to see Tyrone just completely just grab him in a headlock and throw him to the ground and say, "This is what's up. I am one badass motherfucker. Don't fuck with us." That's what I love. And I mean, thankfully the whistle blew as soon as Tyrone did that, so we can avoid any suspensions or whatever. But it's like, if you're gonna give it, you're gonna expect to receive it as well. And that nasty streak that we're starting to develop is going to be important against the bigger teams, because you got to stand up for yourself in them games, mate, haven't you? And as you say, they should be fearful of us, but Guys, let us know your man of the match. I'm intrigued because it could be anyone. It could be any one of them players that steps foot on the pitch today for Villa. JJ was electric. Moreno, fantastic. Then Donker did what it says on the tin. Everyone was amazing. Emmy clutches up with a big save from an Isak shot when our defence decided to part like the Red Sea. That was a fantastic save. And, mate, I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to watching Match of the Day again tonight.
Oh, mate, honestly to God, it's just amazing right now. We hope this. I've just seen it was Dan Juma that scored against Bournemouth as well.
Oh, that's a sting.
Yes, it is, mate. His first goal. So, mate, it's going to be a crazy, crazy run at the end of the season. But this is the best place to be to stay on top of it all. And I know I'm not wrong about that one.
You're not, mate. You're absolutely spot on. So, on that note, you guys should make sure you subscribed and following us everywhere. Dan made a link tree. It'll be in the description. Follow us on TikTok. It's at Heart of the Holte. And on Instagram, it's at VillaPod. The links to the FPL will be there as well. Shirt giveaways coming soon. As I say, if you subscribe and you're not, what are you doing? Make sure you subscribe because we are going to be in for one hell of a journey. So, yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.